I tested out the Canon 80D this week to see how it performs with its large sensor and 24 megapixel stills. But more than that, I wanted to compare it to the Panasonic Lumix G7. This is a mirrorless camera with only 16 megapixels and a smaller sensor. Would there be much of a difference out in the field versus on paper? Let's find out. I used equivalent lenses for the stills as lenses differ in DSLR and mirrorless cameras. Comparing the photos, I personally didn't see too much difference on the surface other than a warmer color on the Canon stills. But where you do notice the biggest differences is when you crop photos. The 80D has 8 more megapixels, which means more detail when zooming in on photos taken. When taking photos of fast-moving subjects, the Canon outshined the G7. It was able to obtain a faster shutter speed of 1/8000th and therefore take clearer and more precise photos of action. Video is a different story though, as the G7 offers 4K 30 frames per second video, and the 80D maxes out at 1080p. It is worth noting though that the 80D has 1080p 60 frames per second available, which is great for fast-moving video. For the simplicity of this comparison, I left both at 1080p Full HD. I wanted to compare cameras in low light conditions as well. Notice the shutter speeds for each of these photos. I had to take a much slower shot with the G7 in order to match the same exposure as the 80Ds. This is due, of course, to its large sensor, which picks up more light and color. One frustration I did have with the 80D was shooting in dark conditions, having a non-digital viewfinder. It shows you exactly what you see, so in the dark it was hard to focus and adjust the settings. The G7's digital viewfinder made all of that simple and easy. Overall, I liked both cameras, but I do have to take into consideration pricing. The Lumix G7 cost $550 for the body alone, and the Canon 80D comes in at a whopping $1,100, and that's without any lenses or other accessories for both. If you're thinking about getting into photography and want to focus on photos, I'd go for a more entry-level Canon DSLR, as the 80D is more for the intermediate to advanced photographer. For video work though, I definitely go with the G7, and it's not so bad for stills either. With that and the lower price, I favor the Lumix G7. Let me know what you guys think. Which camera was the best to you? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.